Hello everybody, today I'm going to be showing you the absolute most basic thing ever in visual arts or in drawing, but it's something that every good artist should know. So I would recommend you watch this video if you are a new beginner in drawing / painting, but also if you're more advanced, this video can just serve you as a quick little reminder. So the actual tutorial is on how to draw very basic forms such as cubes and spheres, and later in the video I will explain to you why this is so important for every single artist to know very well. So really quickly, how to draw a cube. I would recommend you start off by drawing this sort of Y shape. I'll show all this stuff on screen, like edit what exactly to draw where. So draw that little Y shape, and then you draw a set of lines coming from the ends of the first lines that are almost parallel to the first ones that you draw, but you want them to curve a little inward, closer to the lines that you have first drawn. Now all you have to do is to connect these two sets of lines that you have drawn with more lines that will contain the shape and make the final box. You can keep these mostly parallel or also make them a bit angled to make the box look a bit more 3D and have more perspective. It's up to you. Now that your very basic box is drawn and contained, you could, if you want, add some shading. So what I do is I choose a side that I think will be the darkest, and I just start going side to side with very large, broad strokes with my charcoal pencil and start laying in the shadow. And then I choose a side that will be a little bit lighter, and then a side that faces the light more, usually the top side, and that area has the lightest shading. You could also add a cast shadow, just draw two lines going out from the box and lay it in with some even darker shadow. And this will make it look even more 3D, and don't worry, you don't have to be super specific with the angle of the lines or how they end at the end of their shadow. Now that the cube, I'd say, is pretty much done, time to move on to the sphere. Now, the sphere is really just a circle, so there's not much actual drawing advice here. So I usually use spheres as a more of a tonal rendering exercise, trying to get my shadows and highlights really well practiced. So yeah, really just draw a sphere. If you're a beginner and you struggle with drawing circles, I would recommend you ghost the lines. And what that means is you just go over where you want to draw the circle a few times, over and over, but not actually press the pencil. And when you're ready, you actually draw the circle, and because you practiced it a few times, it should be a little more accurate. So for the shading practice, I would recommend, again, you do a bit of a cast shadow. I messed it up here the first time, but what you want is draw a sort of long, oblong looking shadow coming off from the bottom and the side of the sphere. Again, it does not have to be very accurate, so you can get that done. A lot of the darker shadows are going to be here, and your darkest shadows, the very darkest ones, are often right where the sphere ends and where the cast shadow starts. The shadows kind of double up there. For the actual ball itself, I would recommend you put a core shadow along where the shadow starts. So where the form turns from the lighter side to the darker side, you put a core shadow, which is just a bit more of a darker shadow compared to normal. And then when you go a little bit below that, you put the reflected light, which is a shadow that is a tiny bit just lighter than the core shadow. And for the lights, just slowly go from darkest to lightest until you reach an area where you don't put any tone at all and it's completely white, and that will be your highlight. So that is a very quick tutorial on how to draw and shade a cube and a sphere. You might be thinking, how does this help me with drawing more complicated things, like maybe a portrait or a human figure? Well, most of these complicated forms can be broken down into these more basic shapes, like a cube or a sphere or a cylinder. I didn't cover cylinders today, but never mind. So drawing these will really help you become more familiar with these more complicated shapes, and will help you break down, for example, the human face into a sphere, and then the nose into a triangular prism, and the eyes into separate spheres, and so on and so forth. So this has a lot of carryover into drawing more complicated things, and that is really it for today's video. I really hope that you found it useful in some way. I hope you practice basic shapes more after watching this, and yeah, I will see you guys in around a week. Alright, so that's it. See you soon.